Now, it's my pleasure to welcome Aidan Eyakuze, CEO of the Open Government Partnership.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to this. This is my first World Justice Forum, and it did not last 3 years, just a few days. Physicists tell us that it is in the natural order of things for the universe, the world, to dissipate into disorder. This thing is called entropy, and it gives time its arrow from the present to the future. Sometimes it can feel we are living in those moments, a dissipation into disorder of the world in which we are living, as Giancarlo put it, questioning the very foundations of independence of justice. It can feel like we are living in a moment of disorder. But nature also tells us that at least for a local solution, you need to inject energy into the system in order to slow down the dissipation into disorder, into disintegration. And I think for me, that has been a key message of the World Justice Forum. This is a place where we come to share experiences about injecting energy into the system. And we really need to make sure we inject energy. The principles were mentioned. There are 10 principles. 3 stood out for me. Principle number 3 about civic space, and the OGP is working very hard to defend and promote and protect the civic space in which civil society is then able to meaningfully participate in policy formulation, in holding governments to account. But you need the civic space to do that: freedom of expression, freedom of the media. Principle number 5, which is about integrity and accountability and the fight against corruption, the corruption that robs our populations, our citizens, of improvements in lives, of opportunities to make their own lives better each and every day. Again, Open Government Partnership has been fighting that fight, anti-corruption, through various, some of them legislative advocacy around beneficial ownership, transparency, open procurement, so that the biggest spend that any government does, procurement, is done in an open, transparent, and free of corruption. And principle number 9, and here I'm going to call upon us to work together to tell a better story. Principle number 9 is about inviting business, and making the rule of law available, fair, so that business can thrive and the rest of us can also gain an income, governments can gain their taxes. But I think we might be failing a little bit in convincing business. If I was to do a poll in this room, how many people in here are from the business community? Hands up. Alejandro, next time. But the challenge to us is to make a compelling case to business as to why the rule of law is good for them, good for their business, good for markets, good for opportunities, good for fairness. And so that's one of the things I'll take away from here. And hopefully we can join together to energize the narrative about the rule of law and its value for the economy. I know the OECD, I learned yesterday, is doing some interesting reports, which are going to be coming out soon, about the economic benefits of the rule of law. In Thailand, they're going to talk about criminal law. In other places, they're going to talk about administrative law and other examples. But I think we need to make that case compellingly together. So if we need to energize the system, I take inspiration from a Welsh poet called Dylan Thomas. And Dylan Thomas wrote a poem whose first 2 lines were the following: "Do not go gentle into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." So we can inject this entropic system with our own energy so that we too can successfully rage against the dying of the light. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aidan. Thank you for energizing us. And thank you, obviously, for your commitment to protecting and safeguarding civic space, just promoting transparency, anti-corruption, and very important, just for bringing the business sector and making the case for why it works for the economy. So it's an important point. I'm sure that just we will need to reach out to the business sector. They were probably busy just conducting important businesses, but this is an important business.